this is some big news. It's big news for a number of reasons that I'm going to explain here as we go along, but the Trump Organization CFO is expected to plead guilty in a New York tax case. So this is for, any and all doubters who would think when I go on my long rants about how Donald Trump is the shadiest businessman of all time. I mean, he was in real estate in New York City in the 1980s, which virtually guarantees a mafia relationship. When you look at the history of his businesses and even the public reporting on it, we know he was doing all sorts of trickery and deceit and fraud in terms of his taxes and his insurance, etc. Now, some people may have been skeptical of that. Well, here's another piece of evidence. The Trump Organization CFO is expected to plead guilty in New York tax case. So here are the specifics of that. This is according to the AP. Donald Trump's longtime finance chief is expected to plead guilty as soon as Thursday in a tax evasion case that is the only criminal prosecution to arise from a long-running investigation into the former president's company. 3 people familiar with the matter told the Associated Press. So let me pause there to let you guys know that is true. This is the only criminal case for Trump and his circle in regards to his businesses, I should say. But Trump is currently being brought up on civil charges, which basically means that worst case scenario, he's not going to get jail time, but worst case scenario, at least in relation to that, he can get the corporate death penalty, which, hold your horses, I'll give you the idea. You might think, oh my God, that's far-fetched. Wrong, because this has happened not too long ago to Donald Trump. Anyway, Trump Organization CFO Alan Weisselberg was scheduled to be tried in October on allegations he took more than $1.7 million in off-the-books compensation from the company, including rent, car payments, and school tuition. Prosecutors in the Manhattan District Attorney's Office and Weisselberg's lawyers met Monday with the judge overseeing the case, Juan Manuel Merchan, according to court records. The judge then scheduled a hearing in the matter for 9 a.m. Thursday, but did not specify the reason. The people who spoke to the AP did so on the condition of anonymity because they were not authorized to speak publicly about the case. They said the purpose of Thursday's hearing was for Weisselberg to enter a guilty plea, but caution that plea deals sometimes fall apart before they are finalized in court. Weisselberg's lawyer, Nicholas Gravante Jr., told the New York Times on Monday that Weisselberg has been engaged in plea negotiations to resolve the case, but did not specify terms of a potential plea deal reached by the AP. Gravante declined to comment. The Times, citing 2 people with knowledge of the matter, said Weisselberg was expected to receive a 5-month jail sentence, which would make him eligible for release after about 100 days. The deal would not require Weisselberg to testify or cooperate in any way with an ongoing criminal investigation into Trump's business practices. So that's an important piece of information. In other words, this guy's not going to flip. He's not going to flip. Now, I have no doubt that probably the main reason why they went after Trump's CFO is to get him to flip on Trump and, be able to get Trump on some criminal charges. But it appears like he's not going to flip on Trump. Now, again, that doesn't mean that all hope is lost on the Trump front and holding him accountable for his various crimes, because there's still a criminal investigation going on in Georgia right now over the fake elector scheme and over Trump calling and saying, find me 11,000 votes. And there's still, of course, the FBI investigation over his handling of very high-level top-secret documents. So there's other cases going on that front, but it looked like the hope was, let's get Trump CFO to flip on him so we have a criminal case to build against him in New York in regards to his shady business practices. The Manhattan District Attorney's Office declined comment. A message seeking comment was left with the lawyer for the Trump Organization. News of Weisselberg's plea negotiations came days after the judge denied requests by his lawyers in the Trump Organization to throw out the case. The judge did drop 1 criminal tax fraud count against the company, citing the statute of limitations, but more than a dozen other counts remain. In seeking dismissal of the case, Weisselberg's lawyers argued prosecutors in the Democrat-led district attorney's office were punishing him because he wouldn't offer up damaging information against the former president. The judge rejected that argument, saying that evidence presented to the grand jury was legally sufficient to support the charges. So in other words, they were trying to say, look, this is politically driven, you should dismiss it. They're just trying to get me to flip on Trump. And the judge was like, I can see the evidence, and he's guilty of crime, so we're going to go ahead and allow this to stand. Weisselberg, who turned 75 on Monday, is the only Trump executive charged in the years-long criminal investigation started by former Manhattan District Attorney Cyrus Vance Jr., who went to the Supreme Court to secure Trump's tax records. Vance's successor, Alvin Bragg, is now overseeing the investigation. Several other Trump executives have been granted immunity to testify before a grand jury in the case. That's interesting. Prosecutors allege that Weisselberg and the Trump Organization schemed to give off-the-books compensation to senior executives, including Weisselberg, for 15 years. Weisselberg alone was accused of defrauding the federal government, state and city out of more than $900,000 in unpaid taxes and undeserved tax refunds. The most serious charge against Weisselberg, grand larceny, carried a potential penalty of 5 to 15 years in prison. The tax fraud charges against the company are punishable by a fine of double the amount of unpaid taxes, or $250,000, whichever is larger. Trump has not been charged in the criminal probe, but prosecutors have noted that he signed some of the checks at the center of the case. Trump, who has decried the New York investigations as a political witch hunt, has said his company's actions were standard practice in the real estate business and in no way a crime. Last week, Trump sat for a deposition in New York Attorney General Letitia James, a parallel civil investigation. And as you guys know, he pleaded the fifth 440 times. Now, so the news about Weisselberg is interesting. He's going to spend time behind bars, but he is not flipping on Trump. But the investigations into Trump's businesses, that continues because of the civil case in New York from Letitia James against Trump. That's when he took the Fifth Amendment 440 times. And really what we're talking about there is tax fraud, business fraud, or I should say bank fraud, insurance fraud. And it appears like there's a lot of there. And ultimately, they could give the Trump Organization the corporate death penalty. Now, again, you think, well, that's crazy. I don't think that's going to happen. Understand, guys, what happened with Donald Trump's scam university? Remember this story? Trump University? Look at this. This is all the way back in 2018. Federal court approves $25 million Trump University settlement. A federal court approved a $25 million settlement with students who said they were duped by Donald Trump and is now defunct Trump University. So just to explain, the way it technically works with civil court is that there is no innocent and guilty. I mean, people can sort of use that as shorthand in describing it, but since there's he didn't go to prison, right? But he did pay out $25 million because he defrauded people with a fake university. So if you say the word guilty colloquially, people are going to be like, yeah, I understand what you're saying. A federal court approved a $25 million settlement on Tuesday with students who said they were duped by Donald Trump and his now defunct Trump University, which promised to teach them secrets of success in the real estate industry. The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals in San Francisco finalized the settlement after it was first approved by a judge last March, following an appeal by Sherry Simpson, a Florida woman who said she spent roughly $19,000 on Trump University workshops. Simpson had wanted to opt out of a class action suit in order to pursue a separate suit against Trump, but the court rejected that. Students had alleged that Trump University, which was open from 2005 to 2010, used false advertising and high-pressure sales techniques to lure them to free investor workshops at which they were sold expensive seminars and told they would be mentored by real estate gurus, leading to the loss of thousands of dollars in tuition. Now, this is a classic scam move, guys. It's called upselling. And that's exactly what they did. And a lot of the claims that they made are just flat out false. This idea, you're going to talk to real estate gurus. No, you're going to talk to random douchebags that Trump hired who are smooth talkers. Other thing, I remember covering this back in the day, and one of the things they would promise is if you get the deluxe package is one-on-one time with Donald Trump, and they didn't get that one-on-one time with Donald Trump, and if they had the people take a picture next to a cardboard cutout of Donald Trump. The whole thing was a fucking scam. Not to mention the fact you can't just call something a university. You need to be accredited as a university. And he brazenly ignored that rule. A one-year apprenticeship at the Educational Institute costs $1,495, a membership over $10,000, and gold elite classes ran $35,000. Trump faced 2 lawsuits in California and one in New York, brought by New York Attorney General at the time, Eric Schneiderman. They were folded into one class action suit after Trump was elected, according to court documents. Trump paid $25 million in January of last year, but it was held in escrow until the court upheld the settlement, according to the Associated Press. So, in other words, a former president of the United States committed fraud and had to pay for it. And so now Trump University is going gonzo. And it is on the table. The corporate death penalty is on the table for Trump's businesses. And I think we're at the point now where even Trump thinks he's in trouble because, again, you have all the cases piling up, whether it's the Georgia case over the fake electors and trying to overthrow the election by saying, find me 11,000 votes, or it's the various New York cases, or if it's the FBI investigation. And there are some right-wing commentators now who are saying, oh, we look to be in a wee bit of trouble. So anyway, that's the news on the Trump legal front. I'll have some more news for you in a little bit, but his CFO is going downski, and so he may be in a little bit of trouble. Ever since Adpocalypse, when YouTube defunded all independent news and politics overnight, we haven't trusted them. We know they can pull the rug out from underneath us at any time. If you enjoy this content, please consider tipping $1 or $2 per month on the Secular Talk Patreon. Link in the video description box below. Thanks for your support.